The FBI director telling Congress that the probe of Hillary Clinton's emails over right now. But what will voters make of all this? Here to discuss this now, CNN's political commentators, Angela Rye, the former executive director of the Congressional Black Caucus, Peter Beinart, contributor to The Atlantic, Corey Lewandowski, Donald Trump's former campaign manager, Bakari Sellers, a Clinton supporter, Scott Enow Hughes, a Trump supporter, and Matt Lewis, senior contributor to the Daily Caller. That's all we have time left for the show. Can you guys believe that we're here?
Thank God.
Matt, less than 48 hours before this election, and Comey says the Clinton probe is over. Does this change the state of the race here? How does this hamper this race?
Well, I think to me, the biggest story that people don't talk about much because it's not as sexy is the U.S. Senate. I actually think that the Comey story probably saves the Senate for Republicans. I think they will narrowly maintain control. All the talk about this, I think Hillary probably still wins. But I think the Senate, which is a huge deal, obviously, but it's just not as big as the president.
Does this thwart his momentum? Does it affect his momentum at all, or hers for that matter?
You know what? I think the problem is that if you're talking about the FBI and you're talking about Hillary Clinton's emails, she loses. So in a way, this could actually give Trump another little bump. Remember, this was starting to fizzle. It was about, over a week ago that this story broke. Hillary was starting to kind of get her mojo back. She had the Jay-Z Beyonce thing. I think people were over it. Now we're talking about emails again.
But she lost 9 days, Angela. Can that be undone? She can't get that back.
No, she can't get it back, but the good thing is I think the Clinton campaign and Hillary Clinton, let's start just not calling it the Clintons. Hillary Rodham Clinton has demonstrated her ability to be resilient, not just through this campaign, but throughout her lifetime. The CNN documentary aired again last night. The campaign is releasing a new documentary to walk you through her life. People talk all the time about how she comes across as guarded. It has filtered into what has been considered a challenge with trustworthiness, but the reality of it is there's a guard, and who wouldn't be guarded after all of this?
All right, well, tonight Donald Trump has been talking about this out on the campaign trail, and it seems to be a talking point because others are using the same points. Listen to this.
You can't review 650,000 new emails in 8 days. You can't do it, folks. Hillary Clinton is guilty. She knows it. The FBI knows it. The people know it. And now it's up to the American people to deliver justice at the ballot box on November 8th. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable what she gets away with.
Corey Lewandowski, does this demonstrate an understanding of how an investigation would work?
Look, I think what Donald Trump said at the end of that is absolutely right. It's up to the American people to go to the ballot box on November 8th and cast their vote. And what we see in major states that don't have early voting, states like New Hampshire, states like Pennsylvania, states like Michigan, a huge percentage of actually 30% of the electorate in Colorado, even though it's a mail-in, actually return their ballots on Election Day. These people are going to have the opportunity now to have a full universe, a full amount of information before they go and cast their vote. I think that's the most important thing, and I hope as many people as possible show up and make their decision. Do they want politics as usual, or do they want a change agent? That's for the people to decide.
All right, everybody, I want my panel to stand by because we have some, there is a billionaire on the phone right now, and he's going to join us after the break. That billionaire he's joining us now. I thought you should take a break. All right, so let's go now. Clinton supporter Mark Cuban. Mark, sorry about that. I thought we were going to break. Thank you very much for joining us. What's your reaction to this new Comey letter?
I mean, I'm glad he wrote the letter. I expected that they would find nothing. I mean, if you read what the FBI report and what the Judicial Watch interview of Uma said, you know, there was no chance there was anything new there. You know, it was either a web client or an IMAP client, and both were just going to have duplicates, nothing else.
Do you believe the damage to the Clinton campaign has already been done?
Yeah, I mean, there was some damage, but, you know, on the flip side, when I was traveling with her, and actually I was at my brother's wedding last night, and one of my cousins was working in California calling into Colorado, and she told me that after the Comey letter came out, that the participation rates in the call centers went up dramatically and more than doubled because people felt like they had to do more, and they felt there were a lot of positive aspects to it. Now, how do you quantify that? I don't know.
Trump is campaigning tonight. He's been campaigning in Michigan. He's in Pennsylvania as well. Where do you see the numbers are good for him? Do you think he's going to win over some blue states?
I have no idea. I mean, I can guess like everybody else, but I really don't know. You know, obviously I think it's close, But again, you can't quantify ground game. Who's getting it out there? I think Donald is misleading himself, thinking that the size of the audience translates into more people going to the polls. And there's never been evidence that that's the case. And so we'll see if ground game matters. This is going to be the ultimate test.
Let's talk about narrative, because we've been playing it, and you see him out on the campaign trail, and you hear people lock her up. Some people have been saying, it sounds like a lynch mob with lock her up and put her in jail and all of those things. You said that he is, in your last response, sort of deluding himself. What do you think? Is he doing damage to his audience by continuing to promote a false narrative about these emails?
Yeah, he's oblivious to the truth, and that's a problem not just for him, but for the country. Look, I'll say this. I have yet to find somebody other than Peter Thiel that's associated with the Trump campaign that has just the tiniest clue about technology. Obviously, Donald does. He still thinks bleaching, emails is literally using bleach, and he really doesn't understand technology, and it comes across when he talks that way. I think he's doing himself, if not, election damage, certainly long-term and brand damage.
Talk more about that, because there was an article in the New York Times today by Maggie Haberman talking about the brand damage, and that even his daughter Ivanka in particular is concerned about brand damage after this.
Yeah, I mean, she should be careful. Look, when you take up the country, make it and create a negative sentiment yourself personally and in turn your brand, that is going to impact your business. Donald Trump went from having a high-end, well-respected brand to now half the country having a negative impression of him. And if you look at, I forget who came out with the article, maybe it was the Times or the Post, that talked about the performance of his golf courses, and they listed 3 of them, but they didn't even list the 2 in Scotland where they have to produce public documents on their performance. And so of the 5 golf courses where we know their performance, they are all losing money now. That's not good. And we've seen what's happened, with Trump Toronto rather closed down. We've seen the pricing of the Washington hotel, their room rates and their rack rates just dropping like a rock. We have yet to see anything positive as a result with his companies, with his brands, as a result of his campaign. You
made quite a statement, because you recently said that you were concerned that if Donald Trump could be, that a Donald Trump presidency would be susceptible to taking bribes. Explain that.
Well, look, historically, Donald has always put his bank account above everybody else. He had no problem taking money for Trump University, knowing he was delivering nothing. He has no problem not paying vendors, and he just, plays it off by saying, well, they didn't deserve to be paid. Money first, money first, money first. That's his history. Look, if you're sitting down at the negotiating table, all these deals he wants to do, and some, despot says, all right, Donald, between me and you, everybody else leave the room. $30 billion wired to your bank account. You just change A, B, and C. Do you think there's 100% certainty he would say no? And just the fact that there's a greater than 0% chance he might say yes tells us all we need to know about Donald Trump.
All right, Mark Cuban, thank you very much for that. We appreciate you joining us here. I saw a lot of people shaking their heads on this panel, some this way, some like this. We'll discuss right after this break.